fun begins.
How's it going?
Hello.
Well,
Greetings, young Jedi.
hello there.
What's up, everyone? Hybrid Toy Reviews here, and today we are taking a look at something really, really cool. If you saw the most recent Toy Hio Toy Hunt, one of my favorite things to do, try to do all three of them a year, you may have seen I picked up something particularly cool. Today we are taking a look at the Hot Toys Star Wars The Clone Wars Coruscant Guard. This is the Coruscant Guard in their Phase 2 armor. This will very happily work on a Revenge of the Sith shelf. It comes with everything you would need for that. However, it is Clone Wars specific because of an additional accessory. In the Clone Wars Season 5, we see these guys guarding a jail cell that Ahsoka's being held in while she is mistakenly being investigated for the bombing of the Jedi Temple. And while they are guarding, they carry an electroshock baton. You see him holding it on the front band of the box there. So it is fine on a Clone Wars shelf. It is fine on a Revenge of the Sith shelf. And it's going to be very similar to other clone troopers we've reviewed. But I want to talk about him all the same because I've taken a peek at him already and he is rather impressive. So that said, let's go ahead, take a thorough look at the packaging, and then get into the review. And here is the Coruscant Guard in the box. Box is too big for the overhead view, but we're going to make it work. So, front of the box gives you a very nice image of our Coruscant Guard trooper, fading away at the waist, where you get your silver foil Star Wars logo. The wraparound band is in blue and yellow, indicating it's a Clone Wars figure. As I mentioned, is the TMS 025 Coruscant Guard. Blue and yellow stripe over to the trooper holding the shock baton accessory. This side features his name on the wraparound band. This side features an image of him holding that staff. Very, very cool stuff. Around back, you have some information about the design team of the figure and just some behind-the-scenes legal stuff about, you know, being a licensed product and stuff. That paragraph's written in anime. And then you have your barcode, Star Wars logo up top. Like most other Hot Toys, it is a kind of like a shoebox feeling box where you can lift a lid away, and then inside you have an insert with really cool figure photography on it of these Coruscant Guard shock troopers holding their blasters. Really cool. And then you have the figure and the many accessories in the trays underneath. So I am going to take a minute, empty these trays out, get everything stood up, and then we are going to jump into this awesome review. So here's our Coruscant Guard shock trooper out of the packaging with his plethora of accessories. That was an SAT word. I used a big word on a video. Woo! But he has a number of extra parts so you can get him in whatever pose best suits you on your shelf. Let's go ahead and run through them before taking a look at this just incredibly detailed looking figure. So, one thing that I always love about Hot Toys is they give you a little packet with some extra wrist pegs. I have never broken a wrist peg on a Hot Toy. When I mentioned that in an Xbox party with some friends the other day, they were like, oh yeah, it happens, you know, so maybe it does happen. So it is nice that they were forward thinking, you know, enough to give you a couple. You know, again, I mean, we all probably have a pile of them at this point. I like to be very gentle with my Hot Toys. I'm nervous, okay? So he comes with 4 sets of interchangeable hands. So right out of the box, you see he has these relaxed hands on. And those are good for carrying the stock of a gun or maybe the grenade accessories. They're kind of just like, they could kind of hold something, but they're not a specifically sculpted for anything in specific kind of hand. So the first set of hands is the set of alternate trigger finger hands. You can have him holding his blaster with the trigger in his hand on either side. Every hand comes with back plates. They are weathered uniquely, and I just like the look a lot. Something I've noticed on a lot of my Hot Toys is, like the clones in particular, is the hands, you know, they're a black rubbery plastic so that you can, like, work a blaster in there. They're stiff, but they're rubbery. And they always seem to be a little chalky. I hope that's not like a breakdown. I hope that's just a thing about them being rubbery. But he then comes with this set of grabbing hands that don't feature a trigger finger. And these, nope, as I drop the one, again, uniquely weathered on the back of the hand plates. These are meant for carrying that stun baton. And then the final set of hands features a left hand with a pointing finger, and then the right hand is kind of just like super relaxed, like maybe he just threw that grenade or something. So those are really cool options. You can make him a little bit more expressive than just guy holding gun if you choose. He comes with 2 thermal detonator grenades. One is the round ball mode version. He's got the trench around it, and then the red light up top. And then you have this half of one, which is meant for, like, in universe they would like stick it to the wall and walk away or something. And part of me was like confident there was going to be like a magnet or something in this, but there's not, but it's okay. It is just an option. Personally, I think the half one, probably never going to use that. However, there are some fun poses with the ball one where he's like getting ready to chuck it. So I do like that. Now, this is the only Clone Wars specific accessory. I guess you don't see them use grenades in the Revenge of the Sith. So maybe these and the grenades. But this is that shock staff that we talked about, which makes him a Clone Wars figure in technicality only. It features a couple of dark gray painted bars down the handle for grip, and then some science fiction-y looking, electricity making ends. Oh, but what about the electricity? Don't worry. He comes with some electric effects. You just kind of press them onto the end until friction grabs them, and now it looks like it's lighting up. I'm going to be honest. I am not a giant fan of like electric effects, effects in general. I think lightsaber swoosh blades and lightning hands and stuff like that, they don't capture the look good enough to like look movie quality. I'm like, okay, there's like static electricity. Static, that was an accidental pun. But static in that it's not moving at all, which is not what electric effects do in the shows. So I'm like, it breaks the immersion for me. Personally, I would probably only ever have him using it unlit. But that's just me. And also, honestly, I'm going to have him holding a gun on the shelf. But it is really cool that they gave us the option. Options are, both optional but peak. So I do like that. As far as guns, he comes with the standard Clone Trooper offerings of the DC-15, and this is in a dark gray with some subtle wash over it to make it look a little bit worn. I like the copper on the pins going through. Very, very good stuff. It features the moving bipod thing. I don't know if it was meant to be like used like this on a wall or something. Like, it doesn't go all the way back, so you can't like use it as like a stock or something. But it's just something that, again, I don't think we've ever seen it used in live action or media any other way. It could have been fixed and probably no one would have said anything. But you have the option, and that is nice. Setting that down, he then comes with the long rifle. Same coloring, dark gray with that subtle wash over it. However, this one does not have any copper pins on it, so it's even less paint. But it's accurate. I mean, it looks whatever you would think for the DC rifle. It's correct. It looks good. And then, finally, we get to the stand. You have the standard, like, ship floor, base floor stand going on. The Star Wars Coruscant Guard in the silver plaque up front. This is an older figure. I believe he came out in 22. But he has the, like, crotch grabber stand. You can pull it up like so and rest the figure on it. I think I like the new stand better, but, like, anything helps, it's kind of cute having a label on it. I kind of consider these like museum pieces in a way, but it does help generally. It doesn't hurt having it there. It doesn't detract from it. But I think the newer versions of the stands just grab a little bit better. Now, standing our shock trooper back there, let's just take a brief head to toe look. This guy has some weathering going on. You think with the Coruscant Guard, the shock troopers, they're generally just sitting on Coruscant, which didn't have anything happen until Revenge of the Sith, the opening siege. So, like, you would think these guys have some pretty clean armor. However, I guess they do go with senators on diplomatic missions as security, so some of them are weathered up. I look at this guy and I'm like, wow, this guy's been in a fight or two. Like, he's grungy. I love it. And yeah, he's just got some amazing weathering. I'm gonna bend the knees so I can get him down in front of the camera here. Just take a look at that helmet. I love it's like he took a shot to the dome in the Boba Fett spot or something, but just very, very nice weathering. So while he is technically in white armor with red paint, there's nothing white going on here. He has so much dirt and grime going on that he almost has like an eggshell touch to the white, and I like that. It is just a touch of grime, and I am very satisfied with that. He's got the dirt settling into the cheeks there. Just insane stuff going on. Just what a great clone trooper likeness here, you know, just in deco and sculpt of helmet. I believe, do these earpieces come off? I know on some they come off for binoculars, and then I think on others they don't glue them down because then you can take the binoculars from other figures. I don't think they gave you that option here. I feel like they're glued in, but that's okay. I don't know that I would put anything on them anyway. I love how just all of the red paint has scuffs in it. You know, like I said, he's been in a fight, working our way down. Similar with the shoulder pads and the chest plate, the red stripes all around the biceps. Very grimy, very dirty, very weathered. Just, this guy has taken down a clanker or two in his day. And it goes all the way around the back. A lot of Black Series, that kind of thing, goes away on the back. It's not intense on the back. There's definitely more going on the front. But it's still going on the back, too. So it needs to be noted. And then working our way down to the legs. I'll straighten them back out. Hot toys are hard to review, a little behind the scenes thing, but like, you know, I got this tripod set up with the table here, and like, it works good for a 6-inch figure, but Hot Toys are a little too big, but we make it work. But he's got that weathering going down. The place that really, really impresses me, you know, you think if there's going to be grime on a trooper anywhere, it's going to be on the boots. And because they got the red calf and boot going on, they are like the most beat up places on this figure altogether, in combination with having a little more dirt than anywhere else, because, you know, they're on the ground, you know, running through the muck, except I guess Coruscant doesn't do a lot of muck, but still, just insane. You know, I guess, you know, like, I've got my presumptions about the Coruscant Guard. As I said, you know, you think that they're, you know, a fairly hands-off legion. They might have skills, but they don't get a lot of action, you know, but obviously this guy has seen some action, and I love it. I love everything going on here. It's just such a good-looking figure. Yeah, so I think we got to run through some articulation at this point. As I understand, this was one of the very first clones that was like the modern Hot Toys clone experience, so it's going to be very familiar to the 501st Trooper we reviewed like 2 years ago, the Wolf Pack we recently reviewed, Captain Vaughn, who came out a little bit ago, but I only just reviewed. So it's going to be a similar experience. Kind of like buying a Black Series figure. You know, they are repainting more than resculpting, and that is appropriate because you want them to all look like they're wearing the same armor with different paint because it's uniform. It is a uniform. So let's run through some articulation. So this guy features a ball at the bottom and the top of the neck, allowing him to look that far up, bury his chin, rotate it, and get some pivot in there for attitude. Of course, his arms come up to a T-pose. You could rotate the skeleton underneath all the way around, but there is a soft goods bodysuit which would tangle up, so don't do that. The shoulder pads are on with an elastic around the armpit, so you can reposition those after you get them in the right pose to whatever looks right. There is a excellent range on a butterfly joint in there. There is a bicep swivel in there. Single jointed elbows. Are they single? Yeah, they're single. They go a little past 90. It starts hitting into the elbow pad. I think that's enough. And then, does it swivels at the elbow, or am I spinning a bicep? It's hard to tell under the bodysuit. And then the wrists are like that double peg with a hinge, so they can go up and down, or you could rotate it and make it go in and out, or somewhere in between, whatever you need it to be. And then, of course, swivel at the hand. He has a mid-torso ball joint, which allows him to crunch that far forward, which is not a ton. He can go about that far back. Armor hinders it a little bit. It does work a little bit more as a swivel, though. The legs can come all the way out. That is excellent. He can click at the hips, kick that far forward without modifying anything. If you rotate the thigh armor, you can then get one more click out of it which is nice. There appears to be a thigh swivel in there with double jointed knees, which can go a little past 90. No, I don't think there's a swivel at the knee. It's hard to do that and be a double. And then the feet are on like a ball joint. You can go that far down, that far up, and they can pivot in there. Really good range. You can get them into some really fun poses with both feet flat on the ground. And that is good because that just helps you get a good stance on a pose. Here's our Coruscant guard with some other recently reviewed Hot Toys clones. I love how this looks. This is giving me Battlefront 2 vibes. This is giving me Fortnite vibes. This is what my Hot Toys clone shelf is ultimately going to look like. I'm trying to pick up one phase 2 of like every Legion that interests me, which so far is every Legion they've made. And then there's just some other things going on in life that have made it easy for me to pick up a couple of others, so it might be a little 501st heavy in the end, but I am just excited for this shelf, excited to get a Hot Toys cabinet going. Ultimately, it makes me sad that after these reviews, I have to put these guys back in the boxes. I unpacked these guys again, just for you, but yeah, until I get that cabinet, I can't appreciate them the way they should be appreciated, so it's gonna be changing soon, though. So, gosh, he looks good next to other clones, though. It's interesting. I don't know if it's like an evolution, if they've just changed their approach over the last couple of years. Vaughn and the Wolfpack are also very grimy, but not in the way the Coruscant Guard is. The Coruscant Guard has a lot of like bigger, darker smudges, whereas they just have general like smoky, schmutz going on. It makes the Coruscant Guard actually look like the most like battle worn of all of them, which is insane. But yeah, so it's just a notation. So end of the day, what do I think of the Coruscant Guard Shock Clone Trooper? I love this guy. This guy is so super cool. He's been out for a little while, and I was able to pick him up for a deal. I forget if I mentioned it in the beginning, but I got this from D&E Collectibles, based out of Pittsburgh. Super cool store. However, they had a booth at Toy Hio, but I've gotten to know the guys a little bit. They're really nice guys. I've bought a couple Hot Toys from them at this point, and they're just the coolest. So if you're ever in the Pittsburgh area, go check out D&E. If you're anywhere near Ohio, you should check out Toy Hio one of these times. You might be able to run into me, because I typically am there. I don't think I'm going to make the next one. It's the same weekend as ICCC this year. But this is a really, really cool clone trooper. If you don't have them in your collection, and if you have any passive interest in the Coruscant Guard, I think you should be acquiring this and adding him to your Hot Toys clone shelf. He is super cool. Now that we are getting the Revenge of the Sith. Is it Revenge of the Sith Sidious, I think, is coming out? I know there's a Clone Wars one, too. He would look good flanked by two of these guys. These would go well with that new, like, Darth Vader on the surgery table. There's a few things coming out soon that these would be nice complementary pieces to, and they are not that much on the aftermarket. As of right now, they're going for about $200, for very, very nice condition pre-owned, like $220 for new. Like it's pretty good for a Hot Toys clone. So that's all I gotta say. Thanks a ton for coming and hanging out and watching my video. I'm gonna go work on some other videos now. May the Force be with each and every single one of you, and hope you all go and have a good day. Bye.